The neighbors must be thinking, there that guy goes again. He is starting to scream into his computer. Well, I wave to all of you with my eyes here as we continue to sail forward on our one-of-a-kind journey across the high seas of the imagination. Journey onwards. Artist Journal, February 28th, 2024, broadcasting from the editor's desk on the pirate ship of the mind. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, and welcome back, and I am not joking. We have so much to go through here today. There is not much time. The time is nigh, deadline approacheth, as the Twitter space begins again in an hour and 45 minutes. And I do like to prep the people about a half hour before, just check in, so to speak. Again, Luciana Guerra, I believe out of Argentina. We're going to find out. Great abstract artist. We'll talk about that in a second. This is Françoise Gamma, a beautiful, minimal glitch ROM by Françoise Gamma, one of the early artists you come across, or I came across, when I started discovering the art on the Tezos blockchain, and started one of those early artists where you go, that I came across where I started to go, that looks like art. This isn't just a bunch of random digital images that I don't need to take seriously. Françoise Gamma, again, one of those accounts that you came across, maybe found Haiti Rocket had collected one of Françoise Gamma's works. And, looking at Haiti Rocket's collection there and going, there's something about this that feels like this maybe it's already even been in a gallery or museum, and perhaps it has. You never know. There is such a huge output from Françoise Gamma. I believe out of Canada. Not positive. I want to say Montreal, but I actually don't know. Actually, I don't think so. Maybe it's out of Barcelona. Actually, I remember thinking. So I think it's actually out of Spain, where Françoise Gamma is from. All to say, let's look at this work here. So this, let me just do this. So first of all, what a beautiful work. I mean, we come across a lot of glitch ROMs. We got a couple today, Glitchtown Arcade and Sabato with a pretty hilarious one too there on the Zora. So there's, it's a genre almost. You could call it a subdivision of glitch, right? Taking technology, repurposing it. We see it with Let's Glitch It, Danya, aka, circuit bending is another one. Another one is taking, glitch ROM, taking old ROM software. Okay, the image came back. Thank God. Taking old, software and then kind of crossing the wires, so to speak. I believe so. Using it in ways that you want, upsetting the code, I think is what the glitch ROM is doing, because you can start to muck around with the hexadecimal and all this sort of stuff. So that is what this is based off of, like basically a SNES, Super Nintendo game, likely. What I adore about this beautiful work is two things. First of all, actually, let's call it three. Why, this just hit me. Like, it's one of those works that in milliseconds, you just go, ooh, this is a nice one. This is a great one. And so there's that. There's also what I was discussing yesterday with Braindead's work, the Passepartout, which is actually the background color. But again, letting the work breathe here a little bit is an interesting device. It's a completely, and forgive the computer, there's probably no take two here. So we're just going to have to go with it. I'll talk you through the glitches here fittingly in the actual technology that should be working. So there is the background color here and letting the work breathe. But maybe the most revolutionary act of this, again, we see a lot of glitch artists, or ROM glitch as, again, the genre of sorts, subgenre. We see a lot of glitch ROM artists, try and make their poetry, so to speak, with this, in this genre. And, everyone brings their own approach. And what I love about this is how minimal it is. It's just, it's almost like, is that all it does? Right? But that's all it needs to do. And in that respect, what happens is it becomes basically like a kind of modern day abstract, right? It's kind of reminds you of the abstract expressionists to a certain degree. You think of Rothko, you think of Pollock, in terms of even just like the presentation of what is being asked of you as a viewer. What is being asked of you? Look at these colors and this blinking light. It's almost back to the abstract expressionist, the surface of the painting. It was this movement. Again, could we call that a postmodern thing? Let's not go too far, and we have a lot to talk about here today, and we'll probably get back into that. But there was a movement towards the surface of the canvas. You could argue throughout, from the 15th, 14th, 12th, let's call it the 12th century with Giotto and Cimabue. Let's start there for the sake of argument, where they're doing kind of somewhat volume, and then we get total volume and space and proper perspective in the Renaissance. But then, interestingly, over the next, few hundred years with Impressionism, a response to this almost academic style, it starts becoming about this raw, just like it starts becoming about the paint on the canvas, texture, and texture was a thing up until that point. But this kind of surface, and then from Impressionism, we go to Picasso. Surrealists are, a mixed bag, but then we get abstract expressionism where it's literally about paint on this object here and the surface of the canvas, right? So all to say, I feel like a similar thing is being asked of me here. Don't look for a narrative. Don't look for a Nintendo game. Don't try and figure out what game this is. Just look at the pixels on the screen, the colors, and how they dance together, and that's enough. So let's continue here. So this is called ZX Error. Only 2 Tezos, edition of 20. There are 10 left. So that is great. So you can still buy that. There's another one here too, ZX Error 2. This one sold out, interestingly. Oh, all to the same person. Someone did this to Françoise Gamma a while ago. I wanted to actually collect, and now they probably liked it so much, and now LibroBlock has been blocked out by this anonymous account here, who decided they wanted to buy all 20. Error indeed. So all to say, let's not get distracted by that. Here's another one. I thought it was surprising that it had sold out. I was actually going to pick one up. So all to say, another gorgeous, very minimal, abstract glitch ROM here. Françoise Gamma bringing their own, style. And again, keeping that breathing space here. Interestingly, white background here. Would have been tempting to do color, but decided with white. So just very cool there. This one sold out, ZX Error 2. And yeah, and here's Françoise Gamma's page. Of course, we've seen works like this, like The Walking Person, this really interesting one we saw the other day. Extraordinarily prolific artist here. Extraordinarily prolific. And I think the wallet got hacked from Françoise Gamma, so there's a whole other account here that exists out there. I love these colored walking figures here. Look at how beautiful these are. And so almost uxine colors there. So just a really interesting artist who this is beautiful here too, who seems to take, a real digital artist and who, from what I can gather, just my observations here, who really seems to, make a thing, something that a lot of digital artists come across is you actually see a million different things you could mint along the way, or works that you could turn into work and say, you know what, that one. And Françoise Gamma actually seems to apply, this logic, this digital art logic. We're going to have to go with the camera here because to load everything up, we just don't have time. And we need the show. So we need to do the show. It is late in the day. I'm fresh from the dentist. Look at how cool that is. So all to say, just taking a thing, not trying to almost make too much of it. Here's the work. Boom. We have another kind of iteration, another kind of interesting, digital piece, and has almost an encyclopedia of work here. So super interesting here, and had actually posted a couple of interesting tweets recently. These are samples from, Fantavision from MS-DOS 1988. So I believe this is a demo. I mean, I wasn't sure at first when I saw this. Again, this is posted by Françoise Gamma, 32,000. Look at this. Nice move. Nice response here. And you see the bear. It looks like a Françoise Gamma work. Hilariously, and this is, I believe, a demo sample animation from Fantavision MS-DOS 1988. Pretty cool. Here's another one. CGA mode, right? So just a super interesting artist. Again, I think out of Spain, out of Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken. And there is Brain Dead. So here is Francois Gamma's account, and again, we saw some of these works, just a super interesting. There's an Autodesk animator, very interesting artists there as we get started, and just beautiful work. So continuing on, Luciana Guerra on today's Spaces. So if you're watching this, and it's probably going to be uploading as that space is happening in a couple hours here. So should be a good one. And if you're late, you can always listen to the replay. I'll likely have it on the pinned tweet there. So, and Luciana Guerra is going to join Runetoon and I. And of course, Luciana Guerra, who just posted this work here, makes a lot of these abstracts here. This is from the Super Rare archives. Does a lot of physical and digital. So it should be a super interesting conversation here. Let's just look here. Visual artists on Super Rare, VCA residency. Look at that, 8,000 followers. Very good. Kalo. So big shout out and thank you to Kalo. There's an episode now, which is great. I mean, Kalo is such a consistent and just, has really built something over, I think started, 6 months or a year before I did. Kalo's podcast here, it was really nice to come on, and it was just a really fascinating and just fun, great interview, and he's really professional. So that is available in the timeline somewhere or on Kalo's feed. Give Kalo a follow. Sign up to Kalo's newsletter. It's really interesting, and it's a completely different angle on what's going on. And as I was saying here, it's about accounts. We're not in math or science land. People are giving different accounts, which means you want several accounts of what is happening out there in the larger blockchain, digital art on the blockchain. Surprisingly high views here. Usually YouTube here we're around 300, let's say sometimes 400. This is pretty high. So I wonder if this was posted somewhere. Maybe it was Kalo's podcast, but remarkable. So interesting new viewers coming here. And let's look at the comments. Pure gold at the very start of this journal. Life is 100% about showing up. District 468. Indeed. Thank you for the comment, and glad you enjoyed that, District. Tom Bombattle, great artist. Thanks, Adrian. My pleasure, and thank you for the support. Liquid Mind Art. This might be Luciana Guerra. Thank you, dear Adrian. Appreciate you. I think that's Luciana. I just asked her actually yesterday in the afternoon. We had. I'm going to be frozen. Maybe it's perfect that we're going to have glitching through this episode here. Just take it as art. I'll mint this one on Zora. John Cates copying. So all to say, good to hear from you, Luciana. John Cates. Copying as a basis or foundational layer is a great way to say that art is an ongoing conversation. Right. And so this whole idea of where do we start? That is one of the hardest questions to ask, because we were trying to make sense of this whole complicated question that Yuri J brought up on, again, that should AI be trying to emulate oil painting? Or another way of framing it, rather than should it, what does it mean? And so where do we start? So copying, again, going back, and I wish we had more time, maybe on Friday, perhaps, we will actually look up a little bit more kind of on the philosophical basis of what we're talking about here with ChatGPT. But copying is, mimesis, as we were discussing, seems to be right there at the foundation of what it is we're doing as artists on a basic level, at least for representational art. So, and again, with abstraction, you start to, is it copying? No, that was almost the revolution of abstraction, right? Because then it's about the paint on the canvas. We're no longer copying things, right? So, adding to that conversation here. So thank you, John. Human Boy, love this conversation being had here. I'll just say everything is conversation with what has come before. It's in our DNA and written in the cosmos, a copy of a copy of a copy. Kind of a nice play on Gertrude Stein there. We all deserve to join the conversation. Indeed. And we actually have another comment coming up on that from Lonely Boy, who is, okay, so let's deal with one comment at a time here. Exactly, and so there was a point where people were like, and I'm not sure if they were referring to the show, but with the whole, we'll tackle the next comment when it happens here, but everybody does deserve, and I hope I never am implying otherwise, and there are great, as far as everybody deserving to be in the conversation, like some of the, the surrealists at the end of the day are kind of where I grow out of as far as how I base myself. And the surrealists intellectually as an artist. And the surrealists were massive fans of what you might call folk art, and they were champions of, Henri Rousseau, as was Picasso early on, and, who was often, what sometimes is called naive art, folk art, which sometimes I contrast what is folk art. Folk art for me, just to help illuminate our discussion, is art that is not necessarily in conversation with the tradition. Okay? So that's how that's how I consider something folk art. So all to say, these artists, there's a ton to value, and I don't want to suggest that art with the tradition is somehow more important. It depends what game you're playing. If you're playing the game of the tradition, and then it is, in a sense, it becomes more significant within that conversation. But if you're just taking a step back, then someone like, then it's hard to say. I mean, and we're trying to say a lot of things in few words here. And again, we have to run. But Henri Rousseau is an interesting example. Of course, the guy who did the jungle scenes, who really got kind of adopted, so to speak, and I think was Henri Douanier Rousseau, which I think he was a customs agent, which is what douanier, I think, means. So just worked a regular job and painted on the side and built these, castles in the sky, so to speak, out of his mind. Never went to the real jungle. All those jungles are out of his mind that he did, as far as I understand. And but they were so beautiful, and we see them in MoMA, canonical, that they became a part of the tradition. So, again, just to be clear, philosophically, I'm an all-of-the-above type person here. And, lest I should ever become the hyper-traditionalist. But there is a conversation to be had about tradition, is where I'm going. Let's continue here. Thanks for sharing day 2 as well. Having a lot of fun with Object Paint. Also, I've shown in day 2 how to get the dither palette in Object Paint. If you look at the Attributes tab I left in the artwork, just switch from colors to black. Just switch from colors to black and white. So I got a couple of messages here. So this is helpful because we're seeing some interesting stuff. I think I brought them up here in the tabs too. Some of the results from Object. It's actually pretty Object Paint or Microsoft Paint 98. They're actually pretty cool, and I actually want to try them as well. Score Psycho, thank you so much for reviewing Spiritual Glow. It became my favorite animation. I don't know if anyone mints this work, so I minted one for myself. Maybe I relist it later. Well, you might as well. Now it's a 1 of 1. For me, this drop was a hard one, but I tried at least. Keep creating anyway. And, it's a tricky thing. I would say, selling on ETH right now, with ETH going through the roof, Bitcoin's almost at 60,000. The record being 69,000. I mean, so people are holding on to their ETH right now. They're trying to get out of their art right now so that they can sell at the top, right? That's the goal. So it's tough to mint on ETH right now, I would argue. There are still sales being made, but don't think it's necessarily the work, and that was a beautiful work. John Cates, accounts and reflections, because we are in a world of stories, is so true. This points to the fact that multiple accounts will and already do coexist, already now as are increasingly connected across nonlinear networks. So exactly, we're not doing math or physics here. There is, as I like to say with design, there are right answers and there are wrong answers. You can have a poorly designed website. You could call that a wrong answer. But there is more than one right answer, right? You can have different beautiful outcomes for a website, to use that as a simple example. And that's the case in arts as well, or in this world of qualitative assessment rather than quantitative. This is not the world of quantity. Again, math and science. John Cates, incorporating influence and making it your own and doing it in style, referring to our opening work there, is a great description and goal for folks. So thank you, John, and I appreciate the messages. And again, John Cates, as I say John Cates' name and I glitch over here, old school glitch, I believe from the 90s, if I'm not mistaken, glitch artist. So OG, as they say, right click dead, heart, and I think that's brain dead there, I believe, and this is what John was referring to. Santiago Isacodal, I like the hyper postmodern term. I kind of did too. And I thought of something quickly on that while we're here. So remember we were talking about Jeff Koons, and we were discussing how copying, mimesis. Leonardo copies the Mona Lisa. Leonardo copies the person, the Mona Lisa, makes a painting. Jeff Koons copies the artwork of the Mona Lisa by Leonardo, and then that's an artwork. And so we could say that's a copy of a copy. That almost becomes, you might say, a postmodern artwork, right? Because it's kind of, there's something ironic about it. There's something, all of a sudden, what do you mean you're making a painting of an artwork? Like there's something very postmodern about that. Interestingly, that is not exactly what's happening with Strange Thing, because in this kind of semiotic or postmodern discussion, as far as memory serves, and I'm going purely off of memory here, there's something called the referent, which is the reality that something is based on. And then in simulations and hyper reality, the idea is that the referent disappears. Okay, the reality that the copy is based on disappears. And so the difference between Strange Thing and Jeff Koons is Strange Thing is not copying directly from some source. Rather, it's more this AI dispersed algorithm taking all these things and creating something new. So, and so almost like what hyper postmodern could mean, it's kind of like another way of saying hyper real, but it's kind of a different spin on it because it's contextualizing it within the postmodern conversation, and we might say in a more direct way. And we could call it like a postmodern work without a referent, without a reality that is directly kind of related, that it is copying, so to speak. Another thing I want to do, again, is when we have more time, maybe on Friday or Monday, again, we refresh ourselves on our definitions using ChatGPT of simulacra and simulation. So something to look forward to. I'm glad you like that term because when I like how you put no hyphen there. That might be a better way of doing it. Of course, the Oxford English Dictionary, which is the dictionary of, if you take English literature, one of the things they'll tell you in the master's classes, one of the most important things you can know is it's the OED. The Oxford English Dictionary is the dictionary. And one of their recent style updates is if you can remove the hyphen, you remove the hyphen. If it's removable. Sometimes you need to keep it. And so I was debating that here. Anyway, I like how Santiago Isacodal removes the hyphen. That might be the better way of doing it. Oops. And here, let me just go back. It begins one more time, and let's see if we can get the rest of the comments here quickly. NFT, no thank you. Okay, so we have a new comment there. And Rada, oh man, sorry for your ordinal, feel related. Yeah, so it's kind of a rite of passage in crypto for bad things to happen. You know that ordinal at a Bitcoin puppet or whatever they're called? Those are worth like $8,000 or $9,000 now. But we shall not cry in our beer here tonight. Thanks for sharing and spreading awareness. Much love. Yeah, Xverse wallet, not a Unisat wallet. It could have been my fault, so nothing against Unisat. But I would follow Leonidas's advice. Use Xverse for your ordinal wallet to make sure you don't spend your ordinals. I don't know what happened, but it's a big hit. Only in potential, because of course I didn't spend $9,000 on that ordinal. Okay, so just a few more. Thank you for the huge response here. By the way, 78 retweets, 18,000 views here. Huge. 25 bookmarks. Okay, let's look. Elmira Muhel. It looks so cool. Wish to be in the next journal. I gave you a follow. And again, if people want to be in the show, I get it a lot. I'll get emails. And please don't email big images because that'll clog my email box. That is just contact@pocobelli.net. It will clog it. And so if you want to join the community, some people have I've heard from a couple of people that their posts don't show up in the community. Send me a message if that's the case, if your posts aren't showing up. But otherwise, I'll show the community in a second here. If you want to be in, just post your work in the community, and then I quickly go through that while I'm putting together the show. Thank you for the comment, Elmira. Dance Vitar, watching tonight. Awesome. And great to hear from you, HJ. Great as always. Thank you. Yuri J, I promise my comment had more sense a few days ago when I posted it. Here's Nicola Samori work demonstration, by the way. So here you can actually see Nicola Samori. And by the way, I screwed up. The person who wrote the Futurist Manifesto is not Boccioni. It is Marinetti, the poet. By the way, because I think I was saying it was Umberto Boccioni, the Futurist Manifesto. So just a quick little correction while I think of it. And so once again, thank you, Yuri, for stimulating an interesting discussion, which is just going to continue here. Maybe on Friday we bring in some definitions, courtesy of ChatGPT. Skull Takes, great show and energy to start the week. Thanks for your wonderful insights on the space. My pleasure, and thank you for the support, Skull. Denise, thank you also for the ongoing support there. Appreciate it. Cool show. Infinite Yay. Consistently wonderful curation and perspectives. Thank you. Infinite Yay. Great to hear from you. Edmarola, love this show. Had a good time watching while cooking for the week here. And I thought to myself, what a great idea to cook for the week while watching YouTube. I should do something like that. Retro Manny, great to hear from you. Demon Ego, Ellie Lowe. Thanks for the mention, Adrian. As always, great episode, inspiring and refreshing. Maybe we're too meticulous in an attempt to define everything, and after 1,000 years, art critics will just say the Renaissance was great, but by the Web3 time, it became highly weird. And there is something to be said for that. And again, even in terms of just perspectives here, I'm sympathetic to that. I'm sympathetic to the futurists. I'm sympathetic to Yuri J, this idea of why are we keep, going back to the past? Do we need some ultra conservative, at the end of the day, approach here? And so part of the reason I do what I'm doing is part of what I'm doing here is outside of our bubble. There is a sense that the art on the blockchain is not that great. And so part of what I'm doing here by contextualizing it and having this conversation about the tradition and trying to bring it in where we can, and even comparing it, is to kind of help bring what I would argue is a kind of credibility. It doesn't need that from me, but I think it can be helpful. Okay, for people who are outside of it, who don't understand, but if all of a sudden you give them something they can latch onto, like Leonardo, or Jeff Koons, then they go, oh, okay, strange thing. This is like a kind of a postmodern thing. It gives them a way in. And that is part of what I'm trying to do here. So that is part of why it's so historical. It's also interesting, and I think educational. For me as well, because I do a lot of thinking about this stuff as a result of our conversation that we have together here. About copyright issues, of course, I'm using my own music as always, and that was brilliant music. In this episode, the digital VST is sometimes an analog synth and instrument. The tape is just a recording. So that was beautiful music, by the way. And John Cates, first, it's okay to copy. Believe in the process of copying as much as you can with all your heart is a good place to start. Get into it as straight and honestly as possible. Copying is as good, I think better from this vector view, as any other way of getting there. Phil Morton from the Distribution Religion, I think, or Religion, notes on the aesthetics of copying an image processor, 1973. Wow, first, it's okay to copy. Believe in the process of copying as much as you can. So, and this is what John Cates quoted here. So if you want to read this, it's pretty interesting. I'd never heard of Phil Morton, but super interesting take here. Thank you, John Cates, again. And 303, I actually have sketches I want to release here. I've been working on, maybe I'll do it, in the lead up to March 3rd, which is 303 Day here, as we had the 303rd episode. Thanks, Pixel Lord, and we're going to see a couple of things from Pixel Lord. I'm going to have to speed up here, but Pixel Lord is killing it on Ordinals, so something to check out in a few tabs here. KF, Love your choice for the cover today. I'm fascinated by Right Click Dead, also known as Brain Dead, by their work as well. Gozo, thanks for the feature. The piece is part of Midnight Arboretorium exhibition curated by Dina Chang. We're going to see that in a second, actually. And Brain Dead, we heard from Brain Dead. First of all, I'm beyond honored that you chose my work for the cover of this episode, Adrian. Didn't expect that, to be honest. While working on this piece, the general layout of the pieces was the thing I spent the most time on. And just as you mentioned, I used bold spaces on edges to get the whole composition in balanced, and it gives a more stable angle for viewers to inspect all those little details and side elements in general. I also ordered a 70 centimeter wide print of the work for myself to hang it on my wall. I think I wrote, please send a picture when you get that. It excites me thinking to be able to touch it with my hands and see those little details with the naked eye. Now I'm planning to turn these hardware systems into a series. This lovely color palette is enough to get the result I want for now, but I might try different things in the near future. Cream and Gogo are definitely two of my favorite artists on space, like many others that I have observed closely and inspired and studied by. I really like their craftsmanship. Thank you again for highlighting the piece. You made my day. My absolute pleasure there. Brain Dead, just a beautiful, beautiful work. And it's great to see, it's just great to see beautiful work kind of coming out of nowhere. Their epic piece. Vinny Hager, thank you so much. Another great episode. Vinny, and that beautiful vase that Vinny had done. Luciana Guerra, looking forward to chatting shortly here. And Joao Salazar, awesome to hear from you. We have another piece here. And this was an interesting comment from this account here. Stop pumping Rafik. I don't think I was pumping it. I thought I was actually quite skeptical, to be perfectly frank on that one. I was mentioning it, but I think it was worth mentioning, until he admits where he got his ideas and inspiration. And we have gotten another, I don't know who it was, I vaguely remember, but I don't want to get it wrong. Someone else was pointing out the software that Rafik uses, and it's nothing too revolutionary, according to one AI artist who we heard from here, 60 episodes ago or whatever. We'll see if the truth or covers himself with perpetuating the myth he thought of it all on his own. I think an interesting, but I'm not pumping Rafik. I'm just kind of noting. It's in the conversation here. Flint Pope, loving the detail and your very positive criticism on the Brain Dead piece. Thank you. So here is the community, Artist Journal community. We're at 128 members, growing fast, as well as the Twitter. My actual account here seems to be, I don't know what's going on, but things seem to be growing pretty fast the last few days. And here's Rosaccio. Like, how great is this? So this was just posted, this didn't make it in the show because I never saw it yet. But isn't this awesome? And I have too much work to show here, but this is, Kurt Hustle Collective, and this is about when I last checked in with the community here. So I'm thrilled. So this is, again, if you're looking to post your work and to basically be in a feed that I check out here, or just to share it with other super cool people here, like August Ground, and this actually, it influences the show, as you'll see if you're in the community. So I'm loving this. And I feel like we're just getting started on what I feel like this thing can do. But just like this show, it's going to be a slow burn here. We're just going to slowly maybe add, if there's news links, we start putting in the news links, maybe a tune here and there and all that sort of thing. Make it a fun, true community. August Ground, thanks Pocobelli for pointing this gem out. Remember the Renki work? That was just a strobe. It was just this super minimal thing, and August Ground, interestingly, and I was like super wowed by it. August Ground got a similar feeling. Maybe I'll try and open it here. Thanks for pointing this out. Renki accepted my offer for this understated and sublime strike of genius. It kind of had that feeling. No bells and whistles, just brilliant conceptual moves and an expanding and consistent oeuvre. So August Ground, I haven't asked August, but that's another person I want to bring on the spaces. A great speaker there as well. And Give Me Some made a curation of Radionki's works. Feel free to post the link so we can see it. And so on and on. B, and again, so I'm going to keep going back to these. This is great. This actually could have been in the show. So I'll just say, and Martin Joe, we're going to look at this work. as well as this one. So all to say, the community is fun. Come join, and again, great place to see your to share your work. So taking a bit of a risk here. So this is the work that August Ground was talking about. Just this hyper minimal strobe. Within the context of Rinke's work, there is something just very, very powerful about this. So all very cool, and congratulations. I should have looked at what August paid for it. Islay. So referring to the debate on simulation, really, of oil painting with AI. My initial thoughts on oil painting, or any painting referenced in AI works: painting is referenced by artists, 1, for technical reasons, for texture, or against slickness, depending on model tendencies; 2, on a conceptual basis, as a commentary. And this is, I agree, and I have, I think, unreleased, but I've actually released some works, I think, from Secret History of World War III that use these screenshots of the news, and in the background I have AI painted works, and to me, it kind of captures the zeitgeist. It's kind of like, so I think that's what Islay is saying here. There's something to be said for AI-generated paint strokes, especially where you start to see, it starts looking as good as the physical strokes, and like how, that's kind of wild, right? And aesthetics, as we've been discussing, there is merit in the aesthetics alone, to a certain degree. And 3, because painting, whether from the Renaissance or Lascaux or Basquiat, reflects a genuine influence of the individual artist. Some artists are more influenced by SIMS or cinema or memes, or think of waffles here, or various combinations. And 4, because it's pleasing to the artistic or aesthetic sensibility. Thank you for the very well thought out comment there, Islay, and contributing to the conversation, and I'm in total agreement. Lonely Boy. I was a little concerned. I hope this isn't directed at the show. It could be maybe the Taschen book. I'm not sure. Lonely Boy. Lately, I've been seeing that there seemingly has to be a requirement of sorts to be an art person. But to me, an art person is simply someone who loves art and is passionate about it. And indeed, I mean, so I'm not sure, and maybe I'm just projecting. But it's an interesting, one of the things I want to add to this idea of the big game, so to speak, is just a couple of very quick comments here, because we're already at 37 minutes here. We have about 40 minutes to go, and quite a bit to go through here. Interestingly, like I was talking about Dante loading up the Divine Comedy, the Commedia. I've only read the Inferno, starting the Purgatorio here, but loading it with historical references. And, one wonders, is that the first really kind of attempt at kind of doing this kind of artwork that is incorporating everything and then saying everything? It's kind of like the most ambitious artwork, when we're thinking of Dante, that you could ever do. It's dealing with the spiritual state of the human and then incorporating all of history into it, a ton of classicism, and then writing genius poetry to accompany that. So pretty epic, right? Ambition of a ridiculous kind, one could argue, but that is necessary. Audacious ambition is necessary in order to make a work like that, and you see it. There is a canto in the Inferno where Dante is walking along in conversation and says, doesn't share what is being said, hilariously, with the reader, in conversation with Homer, I think with Ovid, maybe with Lucian, who I've never read, but apparently maybe that was a bigger deal in the Renaissance, and Virgil. So Dante includes himself in this conversation, and so I thought, a lot of what's being discussed here, however, when I talk about the big game, we're talking about Alan Moore working with a humble medium, but it's still able to somewhat, because it's so historical, able to play the big game, so to speak. It's kind of a bit of a literary thing to a certain degree. And so when we're talking about the big game in terms of painters, I was like, well, who's doing that in painting? Generally, we'll see in a Manet that, say, quotes in the Déjeuner sur l'Herbe, the river god from ancient Rome, right? Which we've looked at. Tiberius, I think it was, or something along that name. Something similar to that. And we'll see quoting in the arts. We'll see Picasso use the bull, right? Which is kind of a, you could argue a Spanish thing, the Toreador, but also goes back to the very foundations of art. Lascaux, as Eile was mentioning there, the bull goes, this kind of very virile kind of iconography, means a million things. So art, so do we have like an encyclopedic? My question to myself this morning, thinking about Lonely Boy's comment here, do we have an encyclopedic, like kind of a Dante-esque approach in the visual arts? And you know who I thought of? The only two artists I could really think of who were trying to do this totally encompassing thing is actually Raphael in the School of Athens, and that whole room with, and then the poets are there who actually puts Dante in there and actually puts himself similar to Dante in the canto with putting himself with the epic poets. There's Raphael who paints himself in the School of Athens. If we had more time, I'd bring it up, and we should in a future episode. Right? Paints himself in there. Again, a similar move. And one could even argue a kind of loose quoting of what Dante did. But we don't see, my point is though, we don't see a ton of it. And Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, right? With you have kind of all the ceiling and the Last Judgment there. But, so there's a ton going on and a ton of stories. It's kind of incorporating a lot. Is it as encyclopedic? I'd argue Raphael is actually being slightly more encyclopedic. But all to say, when I am discussing this quote-unquote big game, first of all, there's many games that can be played in art. And maybe that's more of a literary thing to a certain degree than a visual arts. It's more quoting. It's more kind of, just quoting, I like to say, or pastiche. Keep getting these notifications of Bitcoin going through the roof. I never get crypto notifications. Now my phone's going crazy. So all to say, I'm an all of the above type person, and good art can come from anywhere. Depends what game you want to play. If you want to play the game of, okay, let's all-encompassing culture and deal with all of history, well, you're going to have to know history. You're going to have to study it. And Dante didn't have Homer, okay? That was in Greek. They didn't have a translation. So he only had Virgil. So you don't need to know everything either. But he did have an encyclopedic, knowledge. So all to say, I wouldn't listen to those people, was what I would say. And I hope you don't think that I'm saying that. Sabato. This is really interesting. So Botto is the community-made, the crypto experiment where people basically vote with AI in order to make an image. And so Sabato, commenting on the latest work by Botto, Water's on Lone Territory. Funny, because if a human photographer showed me this work, I'd be like, it's fine, but nothing special. But because a collaborative AI bot made this, we can be like, yes, this is the median photograph of all fine art photography. The perfect image sausage. Beautifully put. So, yeah, I find these interesting. Do I think they're overpriced? Probably. Right? And again, I'm very weary of sort of, I think I called it art by committee, right? But whatever. It's, again, I'm kind of an all of the above type. Like, I have no problem. People make art for different reasons, right? And that's kind of important to remember. So, but, so I think that's maybe where a lot of confusion lies, actually. So Dina Chang, let's continue here. This is Dina Chang's show, Midnight Arboretum, is featured on Object homepage. Editions are still available, but selling out fast. So here's just a quick and big shout out to Object for putting those curations on the homepage there. We'll put that in the next show. I hope I screenshot that. So here is Dina Chang. A few highlights here from the Dina Chang show. So I think we saw that. Okay, awesome. So just cool. And shout out to Dina Chang. Thanks for co-hosting those few times. And looks like a great show. Sabato's in there with many others. Pixel Lord. GM, this is what we have now on the third day. So Pixel Lord put out the Spectrum Heroes, and shout out to Pixel Lord, who has been a nice big supporter of this show, has put out work on Ordinals, and it's sold out in a minute. So big congrats to Pixel Lord, and I'm not sure. I think we put in the tweet the other day. You know, I spent $5,000 of minting a collection on Ordinals. I think that was in last show. So pretty cool. Yeah, it's getting hot on Bitcoin. It's getting very hot. Leonidas, all-time high ordinal sale ever. Inscription 2 just sold for $1.4 million. 24 Bitcoin. Ordinals are dead. So pretty intense what's going on there. Bullish on Rodar Moors. So this is a big kind of Bitcoin developer, ordinal developer, I believe, maybe created Ordinals, the protocol on Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. Vision for Web3 on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the base currency. Runes are the fungible tokens, interestingly. Rare sats, semi-fungible tokens. Inscriptions are the NFTs, the non-fungible tokens. Very interesting. And Santiago Isacodal pointing out that Neurocolor has just put a 120 kilobyte GIF on Ordinals. So, and of course, so it's getting hot out there. If you're not feeling the FOMO yet, you may soon. I need to get my stuff out there before Bitcoin gets too expensive to mint on there. Get it on while you can, is what I say. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, then what? Then how are you going to mint your, so get it on while you can, if you're thinking about it. And I say to myself just as much as anybody here. Let's continue here. Super rare. This was shocking. I'm not often shocked. This shocked me. Gone are the days of ETH killers. We live in a multi-chain world. To celebrate, here's a thread featuring super rare artists that mint across several platforms and chains, the true pioneers of on-chain art. So, kind of a shocking message, I would say, from super rare, because, they are such an ETH platform. So isn't that interesting? And what does that mean? You wonder, is there how cool would it be if super rare somehow did something with ordinals? And maybe that's what they're thinking. Of course, they're referencing artists who are going on Solana, Base, Avalanche. And the reason I'm so shocked by this is because I'd say the most pushback I've ever had on this show is saying, you know what? What's the big deal with artists minting on Solana? I've gotten a few people that were kind of not happy with me saying that. So it's shocking to me that super rare, which is such an ETH kind of maxi platform, so to speak, seemingly, and I'm grateful to super rare. I'm happy to be on super rare, and I hope they go multi-chain. I think that would be awesome, but I'm shocked to see them do this. So maybe, the market is, Ethereum, Tezos, Solana, maybe they're being forced to. Maybe they're not making enough sales. I haven't looked at the super rare bot, but, artists, we're not putting a ton of super rare works in the tabs because we're not seeing a ton, interestingly. And a lot of people have super rare accounts, a lot of the artists here, but they're not putting it on super rare. So interesting. Unknown collector. If you feel down right now, I get it. Crypto prices are rising, art NFTs unchanged. They talk about a bull market, but you feel left out. Yeah, and so I would say be patient also. Because once, when people buy art is when the crypto stops going up or even goes down a bit. Then they get bored, and then they start looking around and trying to find things to do with their crypto. Okay, we're already at 50 minutes here. So I wouldn't... so I would actually say it doesn't mean it's not going to come. I would just be patient. Because if Bitcoin goes to 300K, the art, your art on Tezos is probably, your little collection there is probably going to be worth a little bit more. Even if it's just 3x or 4x, it could be worth way more, in the next 5 years. So isn't that interesting? Who knows? Not financial advice. There's nothing you can change about financial markets and where the money flows. Just keep being you and give it your all. That's all you can do. Exactly. Passion and talent, more often than not, will arrive where it should be at some point. Let's keep grinding, give it our best to make art shine. In the end, art is what prevails. And you know what's so interesting? There's a lesson here. Because you can spend all your time, and I've done stuff like this in the past, chasing after kind of the next crypto thing to try and speculate and get rich. But sometimes the best thing you can do is make your art, because the 2 airdrops I got were from making art. I got it from the Zora. You got the Optimism airdrop. And if I hadn't been posting my videos or whatever, working with Zora, posting my art and people doing things, I wouldn't have got that airdrop. And then this Rune airdrop is going to come out from Leonidas and company. And you had to have 3 Ordinal NFTs in your Bitcoin wallet. And I had like 5 because I had been minting my own work and it wasn't selling. I'd sold 1, thank you, Luke 500. But thankfully, those didn't sell. And so, so the lesson here is sometimes working on art in this space can actually pay you more than chasing after the next big kind of crypto thing. So I totally agree with UC based on experience. That is where the payoff is. Blue Retina, I found some copy minters of my art on Zora and OpenSea, unfortunately. 2 different places. Sharing the links with you guys, please report them. And I saw there were some fake uxines there too. So yeah, mint.fakes. So I guess mint.fun, which is on Zora. So let's keep running here. This was very interesting. Julie Rose. This is something I've been thinking about for near a decade. And I actually tried for a couple of months, starting my own digital art subscription. Pretty cool. Join the Crystal Spaceship Club monthly edition airdrops, early access to select drops, quarterly raffles for 1 of 1s. 0.01 ETH per month, so I guess that would be maybe $34 a month, but you're getting art. So interesting. I think this could happen, and this is the page actually where you would connect your wallet and 64x early subscriber bonus. So just pretty cool. I could see that, really catching on at some point. Adam Fuhrer, Cubepull, Plotter Twitter. So another beautiful pen plotter work here, which continued to dazzle and fascinate me. It lives. Here's Somfe in the studio, I think posted by Kiro in the community. Look how rich that is. So very cool there. And you see those analog video glitch artists at work. Neutro. So another update here from 3D scanning to VR sculpting. Julian Saleko is teaching some of his techniques at the Tucumán residence at Lazaro.tez. I assume this is the same residence we were seeing with Bosque Gracia. Is the crew paying attention? So again, when you start seeing several minds together, this is when things really start to happen here. Like you start collaborating. What is a corporation? It's a bunch of people collaborating. So if you start having a bunch of digital artists that start to kind of get together, share ideas, share techniques, again, as I mentioned in an earlier episode, that starts to get dangerous. Neutro, we're doing onboarding of Patagonian artists. Gabriella has been making woodcuts and prints for many years. Today we're experimenting with different ways to digitize her works. Bosque Gracia's Arzora. So look at this. This looks like a scanner. Right? That's why I'm just thrilled by, look at how cool this is. And me just watching this video goes, oh, you can get scanners like that. I had seen, here's another one. Let me just make sure. Sometimes the audio will continue there. And this is in Spanish, but again, and is that Santiago Ruao? So you gotta love what's going on. So it looks like a video of this painting. This is pretty rad, to quote Waffles there. And here is Ed Marola rocking a jam for a collab with Kennick Zapata. So looks like Ed Marola in the heat of summer there. Those beautiful green leaves there. Ed, that looks like heaven. This looks like heaven. And there's a Korg. And what is this? Matriarch. Okay, that's a Moog. Wow. Very, very, very cool. And here, my painting and my daughters, I thought this was a hilarious image here from Santiago. So hilarious, kind of a, heartwarming image there. This is also Santiago on Paint 98. We have a few artists. So this is, of course, the Windows 98 paint program that Object has put on their platform where people can make work. Like, look at how cool this is. And it looks like a Santiago work. Again, look at how beautiful this is. Amelia Versace, Party Like It's 1999. Gorgeous. Here is Katarina Create. This is also Paint 98. So you see Katarina Create's style, but with this beautiful, kind of pixelated Windows Paint program. Very cool. Here is Brain Dead, putting a broken jaw, and we actually have a story on that coming up in a tweet. How are we doing for time here? Okay, we're going to really have to speed up here. We'll get to the broken jaw in a second. We also have Macro G Matrai. Give Macro G Matrai a follow, a very small account, and I follow Macro G Matrai. That is a X-Glitch. Only 17 followers here, and needs 100, I think, to start showing up. So cool artist working on also on Microsoft Paint there. Here's Oh My God, I Drawed It. OMG, I Drawed It. Whatifobject.com. People are loving it. I can't wait to use it. Brain Dead. So the person we started last episode with, I collected this piece, which we're going to look at 2 days ago. I collected this piece because it's so relatable. 2 days ago, while walking on the street on my way home, I tried to separate two young men fighting, but turns out we're friends, and suddenly I got attacked by them. I survived this incident with a broken jaw and a few skin muscle injuries, so I collected this piece as a souvenir. Guess I have to eat my food through a straw for a couple of weeks, more waiting to heal and thinking what kind of world we live in nowadays. So sorry to hear that, Brain Dead, and get well soon, and what a horrible story. And so beautiful work there by Muji. We're going to look closer, and starting again, also give Shilly Preston, has an open edition here. If you have an extra 5 Tez, go help Shilly out, who is on hard times right now. And again, has this open edition, Midjourney and Photopea, maybe a self-portrait of sorts. Don't jump. I shouldn't give. I'll buy an edition. Go support Shilly Preston is actually what I'm trying to say there. And big shout out, and heart goes out to you, Shilly. Marcelo Pinel, as we begin the works here, another hour in here, and we're going to have to really zoom here. Look at this, Pisces. Marcelo Pinel. So look at the Pisces sign too in this very cool crystal of sorts here. Just another beautiful, beautiful work here. Trying new techniques here in the fish scales too, and we see the constellation in the background there. This is an edition of 25 for 42 Tezos each, and that is on Object. Here's a beautiful work by Ed Marola on Solana, going multi-chain. I wonder if we can bring this up bigger. We don't really have time, but just a really cool landscape here. From Ed Marola. This is only half sol reserve, $56 reserve, and this is on exchange.art. So very cool piece here. And here it is, actually. So you see, yes, there's the dithering. Sometimes the dithering, when it gets compressed, you can't see it properly, and so you got to zoom in. Looking great, and look at these great plants here. Beautiful work. Beautiful digital art. Here's another one. Could hang in the same room by Cider Nightmare. Another big sale here from Cider, 0.6 ETH, so $1,900 for Cider here. And this very cool work, which also looks like a little bit of a landscape here. Some water. A play of distortion with digital illustration and collage. Nightmare, cool title. This is beautiful here too. This is Reikes. Blossom drops soon. So we saw some flowers earlier, some pixelated flowers. Really digging the weird painterliness of this pixel art here. Reikes. Very beautiful work here. I love where that's going. Kind of brand new artist. We'll see if I come back here. Oh, great. Let's go and Zozo. So a bit of a nature theme to get us started here. Cool, water connected, kind of some waterfalls here. Taking offers at 3 Tezos here, edition of 20. That's on Object. And here just a cool abstract by Yuri J. Ever experimenting here. So cool distortions, Cool, different kind of patterning here in a cool abstraction, and an edgy work from Nuv 1914. Again, these could hang side by side in this little gallery in my mind. Arbolito. This is 5 Tezos, edition of 5. You know, I picked up a 1 of 1 of Nuv 1914 because we're not seeing as many, and a lot were released. And now, you know, I hesitate to say it, but get the 1 of 1 Nuv 1914s while you can, because we're not seeing as many. We're seeing more editions now. Interesting experimentation here. Beautiful textures as usual. 5 Tezos, edition of 5. Here is Santiago, State of Mind 2066. Cool title. Interesting move by not centering this composition. Kind of adds a cool, and you gotta love that big pixels in the background. Very interesting abstract here from Santiago. And kind of fuzzy and pixelated in areas. Super interesting work here. 5 Tezos, edition of 20. This is Mumble Boy Pajama-rama. So another digital collage here, using seemingly some physical, using scissors perhaps, as well as digital cuts. This is an edition of 2 for 8 Tezos. And let's continue here, kind of an 80s vibe there. And here's Uxine. And I think this is part of some sort of hype drop, because we see almost like the Campbell's soup with hype there. Beautifully kind of done there. And then chasing after this 13, the monk, just very cool. And here's a new one by Soom, this beautifully painted series here, Faraway Look, another horse rider. I don't know how Soom is doing it, but this is some pretty gorgeous work here, and I think it's digital art. Pretty astonishing. And so again, it brings up this idea, if this is a digital work, which I think it is, it seems worthwhile to me. Again, the paint strokes for me are starting to compete with, it kind of almost looks like AI, doesn't it? It's starting to compete with the real brushstrokes, which kind of is a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? So, because why make real brushstrokes if you can make AI brushstrokes better? You know, quote unquote. Trippy Collector sharing some works by Pale Kirill. Just wanted to share these because it is truly mind-blowing stuff. The colors, the composition, the subject matter, all so perfect. Indeed. Nice share. Pale Kirill somehow escapes my vision oftentimes, so really thanks for bringing that to... I think it was posted in the community here, the Artist Journal community, and just saw it online. Just really nice paintings here, aren't they? I believe digital paintings, and using basketball as a subject matter. This is Besu, Devaneos 2024. Interesting painting here. I believe digital. What does it say on Besu's new collection available at exchange.art? So maybe a Solana-based artist. Nice work. Very nice piece. Here's the fail artist number 73. And this is Wasteman Goldminovich depicting a security guard for McDonald's. On this occasion, my hot dog was trampled on, and since I had no other food, I got somewhat annoyed. Unfortunately, the situation escalated. So I thought this was hilarious, actually, the little McDonald's bumper car. And here, McSecurity, and kind of getting rough treatment here from McDonald's security, smoking the McDonald's cigarette, the failed artist there. And the boss coming out with some fries, or maybe another. So just another brilliant work. I might have picked this up. Not yet. August Crown. Few people picking it up. Still some available. We Can Do It featuring Cool Keith. So this is Junkadelic and Working Class. Just give you a quick snippet here. Junkadelic's, again, a pretty cool musician.
We can do a little shopping. We can do it. We can.
So kind of perfect. We can do a little shopping here outside of Walmart. Very cool. Very cool what's going on there. That's on Object. And continuing on, Kappa Sage, Help Me Imagine, Condemned to Remember You. A poetic description there. And you gotta love these kind of weird paint drips upside down. You know, an interesting contrast here between kind of the fuzzy lines in the water and kind of the hard-edged, almost Microsoft Paint type lines here. Wild work, kind of surreal. And this is a 1 of 1, going for only 15 Tezos to District 468. So nice work there for District 468. I thought this was pretty cool too. Just an interesting modern digital painting here, contemporary digital art painting in a golf cart with, I don't know if those are McDonald's or what that is in that guy's hand, with a beer maybe, or a drink and a cow. Kind of, again, a surreal scene, kind of like a surreal painting here. Interesting composition. I think that's Varg Krem. So I think we've seen a couple of works by Varg Krem. Interesting piece. Here's rustic digital art, Ford Falcon. You kind of gotta love this. So almost doing an ad here with Pikachu. I think that's Pikachu. Different Ford logos broken up here and kind of a 1960s feeling to it. And then Escalona 2024. And then kind of a rustic digital art background landscape there. That is 55 Tezos. That is on Object and just minted there. And here is Pomelo. And I think there's some music here as well. Let's see. Or just a visual, just animation. I thought it was interesting how Tezos was mentioned here. 0.6 Tezos, but it's on Zora, which I thought was kind of an interesting move here. So none minted so far, just minted. Here is John, another still life. Really digging the series here. Interesting painting, kind of an airbrush style in here. And we got a plant, a water bottle, and an extension cord. Very interesting. The window almost turns into a picture, interestingly. And here's PP Universal, We Won't. And this is pretty cool work here. And we see the kind of patterny style of PP Universal here. Really cool with this coiled spring. And We Will Never Know in the book. So you can read all you want, but we will never know. We won't, as PP says. That went for 6 Tezos, edition of 5. Here is Flora Marquez, Bertha Lupe Montguillot. Again, kind of has a bit of a fashion designer type vibe to it. Beautiful painting, beautiful dress. Look at this work. And kind of almost an Alice in Wonderland type vibe with the moon there and the dog head. 102 minted on Zora. Nice move. Here is Jake Studios. If God is an Aries. How are we doing for time here? We're going to have to speed up. Another cool work by Jake Studios. Digital Revolution here speaks for itself. Again, another surreal illustration. What was interesting about this, and there's God, taking out the earth, another crucifixion, and some money underneath. So this is 12 Tezos at auction. You might be able, there's District 468 picking up another stunner for cheap here. This one was burned, interestingly. So there was a darker sky before. So I thought that was interesting. It's interesting, sometimes minting something, put it on the website, you see it and you go, meh. Then you're like, I think this needs an edit. So interesting. I think they both look good, but I think I do like the beige better too, interestingly. And some process for If God is an Aries here. So here, you see some of and you see the sky changing there. So pretty cool to see that. I mean, really built from nothing there. Great illustrator, Jake Studios, isn't he? Very impressive. So let's continue here. If the computer cooperates, here's Rada, Prepare for Plunder. So, of course, these pirate ones speak directly to me. This is us. And there maybe is a little rat, and we continue to sail forward here. Just an interesting work here by Rada, kind of nice, kind of jagged pixelation here. Nice square brush, that's 660, edition of 45. And there, this beautiful work of the rat on the pirate ship. Avast ye bilge rats, side quests of Captain Dead Rat Pirate, edition of 27, now 12 Tezos just minted. So cool work here, beautiful drawings from Rada, the super talented, great pixel artist. I got to clean up this, another Paint 98 work. Actually, this could have been put at the front here by Tornado Rodriguez. So I'm pretty amazed at how well people can basically emulate their own style using Microsoft Paint. Super interesting. Original Sin after Hendrik Goltzius, The Fall of Man. So this is 1616. So this is another pastiche by RJ, seemingly incorporating X-copy colors into the pastiche. I think this is quite interesting. And even like the kind of the noise here feels a little bit X-copy-ish. So almost pastiching both this older painting and the crypto painting and starting to just go boom what happens when we start pastiching two kind of works, or at least quoting the colors from one and the composition from another. Original Sin. Here's another one. Agnes Machine. This is on Zora with these huge font here, hilariously. 6 minted so far. And of course, we saw Rare also play with this, but doing the Boston Dynamics dog. So interesting work from RJ. Here's actually a few more from RJ. Beautiful kind of Hockney-esque portraits here. And this is just posted. I don't think we've seen these before. They may not be new, but I thought Chat Rooms, interesting title. And we have another one there. What is this? Object Paint 98, the internet. So everybody's loving it. I can't wait to give it a shot here. And here's Limbo with a beautifully dithered work here. Edition of 27. Big Limbo fan here. Just cool, kind of sci-fi, pixel art, edgy, dark. Death is lurking. I'm pretty sure Limbo makes the music, because I remember seeing Shot of the Studio, and I'm pretty sure, again, that music's made by Limbo. So very cool. 20 Tezos, edition of 27. Nice piece. And here, just posted by mech.txt, some cool MS-DOS works here. Nice tiling. Again, Ultima-inspired works. Beautiful, beautiful. Gotta love the backgrounds here. I just love this whole series. Good morning.txt. Here's Mayu. As we really have to start going faster here. Cybernetic, just a cool work from Mayu. What is this? Edition of 10 for $350. And a few picked up so far. Very cool there. And here's that work that Braindead picked up. Broken GBA. Pretty nice. Just and poetic, as Braindead was mentioning. So this is Muji with another really cool kind of cycling, image or abstraction, really. It's really impressive how Muji gets these beautiful abstractions here in the screens, and then really gets the color right oftentimes with these just off-kilter greens and gray greens and the buttons and everything, a little bit of power there. That is an edition of 15 for 8 Tezos, few selling already. Let's continue. Here's Green Ginger, Rise of Masterpieces. So we were seeing some of these in process, and here we see this kind of interesting flash here, and there's the Scream, and almost the Wanderer here, Der Wanderer, by Caspar David Friedrich, and of course Van Gogh there with a plant on it, plant growing out. So they're coming out of their works. Rise of Masterpieces, 5 Tezos, edition of 20. Here's Chaz, Poke Fight, and we'll see if the music plays. Pretty fun. Very cool. So that is Poke Fight. That is an edition of 20 for $350 on Object. Here's one by Glitchtown Arcade, Underwater. And this is also on Object. So again, kind of glitch ROM there. Nice colors in there, by the way. That is only 99 cents, edition of 30. And here's the work also by Sabato, a kind of conceptual piece, Generative Artist. So maybe we need to restart this, but let's see if we can figure it out. Maybe it's about to start here. So maybe you just click something and then things start to happen. This is on Zora, 19 minted so far. Look at how actually beautiful. Maybe you just hit the click button and it starts making different works. I don't think it's interactive. So from the Mystère Mario Paint, that beautifully titled series there, that's on Zora. Check it out. Get the deets on Sabato's home on Twitter there. The Bloom, this is by Svezer, if I'm not mistaken. Just an interesting pixel artwork. Very unusual. We saw another one the other day. Very kind of unique take on pixel art. The Bloom, that is 3 Tezos, edition of 10. And here's Kyle Flemmer with a very minimal work called Mars. A little bit of a drop shadow on there. And here you see what looks like Mars colors here. Maybe the planet there. And that is 840 by 15 by 15 pixels is over here. Interesting size. And again, you're kind of back to ordinals. Whenever I see small scale, stuff like this, especially some of Element Lee's, this is Element Lee, you You do the 2-color work on Ordinals, could be still really cheap to mint. Walls and Gardens, 300 by 256. So just, I'm not sure if Element Lee is minting any of their work right now. Starting to go outside the edges a little bit, which is an interesting move. You see it here too. Starting to experiment and push things further here. Always experimenting, really, but starting to push things a little bit in interesting directions here, called Map. Interesting title. Element Lee being just super interesting as usual. Pulse 00, a new one by Braun. And interesting piece here with, again, a couple of layers here, static and dynamic pixels, and just an interesting pixel art abstract, for lack of a better term. Here's another one. Jada is the artist. So a new one from Jada, again, kind of low res, or, you know, almost pixel art, animated abstract. And here is Louise-Andre Gama, whose fractals we've been looking at. Some interesting colors here in this fractal art, the infidelity of color. And here's Lucas Lejeune with, again, this uses After Effects, and I always forget what the other pieces, but pretty cool how it transforms through different shapes from circles to squares. Really nice piece. And continuing on, Santiago Ruao, who's at the residency. And how are we doing here? Going to finish in the next 10 minutes, I think. So this is on Zora. If I don't freeze, here we go. So this is on Zora that you can get this work, playing with red, and again, what almost looks like asymmetric writing. Amnesia, this is Walk, 8 Tezos. This is an edition of 1. So interesting piece here. I'm not sure what the reference is. Usually there is one. Nice noise in there, that colorful noise. Cool title. Interesting piece. This is Kyle Flemmer. This is 14 minutes, so we can't play too much. This is Kyle Flemmer, Itzel, Rihanna, Empalnyaga, and Agnes Evergrace. $14 We'll see if anything. So, pretty epic piece. How much is that? That's 0 editions. This one was burned. There may be a new one. Very cool. Here is Bosque Gracias, Dreamland Caves. Cool title. This is an edition of 1 for only 10 Tezos. That is very rare for Bosque Gracias to do an edition of 1 for 10 Tezos. Get it while you can. If I don't get there first. American Hustle. So this is awesome. Kurt Hustle Collective. Kind of reminds you that this is CNN. From the 90s. Hilarious. American Hustle Games by Kurt Hustle.
This place is like a jungle. Let's go. Low sugar. Low sugar.
Just hilarious. Hilarious. Edition of 25 for 3 Tezos. Get it while you can. And here's Kurt Hustle Collective on Zora Dolphin Zone. So pretty cool here. Awesome to see Kurt Hustle Collective on Zora there. Cool dolphins. Here's Kiro. With some beautiful work here. Nice composition, great color, Kiro. Looks beautiful. Very interesting piece. This is called Formation 2, edition of 1 for 13 Tezos on Object. And here's LB with a super richly textured piece. What's done is done. And just a beautiful gif here of this lion walking forward. Great textures there. Analog video glitch. Here's Nicholas Sassoon with some beautiful... I don't know if I wouldn't call it just a RGB study. Let's call it another window with a view. Just beautiful color in these works. And here is House of the Model. This has a really interesting start. I don't know if we're going to be able to play that, though. Check out this work by House of the Model if it plays. I love how the colors come in here. To give you a feel. Sounds awesome and looks great too. Weird Grip, Ex Mortal, and House of the Model all working together there for a piece called Z or Zed and transferred to Phosphor Operator. So very cool. We thank you and we love you. Beautiful. Here's another one by LB, Improvised Jam. So just working in the studio there and hitting gold, so to speak. That's 3 Tezos, edition of 15, already selling 4. Here's Ex Mortal, a work called Candles. Nice piece here. Just beautiful processing. And this is, again, Ex Mortals. We have another one, Hellburner, Antwork Mix, edition of 20 for 10 Tezos each, and just gorgeous color here. As my computer struggles, look, I love these lines too. In the background, adds so much. There's so much newness and rich textures that we get from these video glitch artists. Here's Renki, who we saw the strobe from before. Mizadani, I think, releases something every day, if I'm not mistaken. Very interesting piece here. I think we have another one too. This was an eye catcher, Teki Hara. Again, I think out of Japan. So interesting piece here, kind of playing with different kind of style there. Luis Andre Gama. So I think this was our fractal artists that we were looking at earlier here. So interesting piece here. This is from Light Trap series of 2022. And here's another fractal work by Luis Andre Gama. This is posted on Object. So making fractals pretty darn interesting. And nice color here too. Just interesting, isn't it? Infidelity of Color is the series edition of 1 and not listed yet. This is Kota Nakazono on Zora. So lots of people, I love how a lot of people are going on Zora. This is a beautiful work here. Almost has a CGI feel to it. 29 minted so far. And I think it's worth it because ETH is going up. So I think, each mint is probably worth a little bit more money, I think. This was hilarious. Martin Joe, Coffee Break, the failed artist. So there's the failed artist from earlier. Getting Martin Joe's coffee cup treatment, and there's the hot dog and the fries. Brilliant work from Martin Joe. Nice one. And who is this? Helio Santos, who does the paint plotter. Look at this. This is super interesting. As you see, are these drones? Maybe this is video AI. I don't know, but those red lines are beautiful. Just super interesting. Surveillance system detecting aliens crossing the desert. Very cool. And here is Parsa Mostagim with another, I don't think we looked at this one, Marlboro cigarettes getting bent. I think Dali would like this piece here. And just very cool work with matches. The Mischievous Adventures of Prof. Clownboy. And here is Kuhei Yamashita with a cool GLB. Let me quickly, actually, maybe we'll have a video here. I just want to write Luciana Guerra. Here is Ocote. I almost started with this. This was quite brilliant, I thought. There's a great title here, Watching the Fall of the West. So all these, people from the global south looking at the fall of the West on their phones. Quite an interesting piece, quite a beautiful, interesting, provocative piece, a very 2024 piece, edition of 7 for $250, 3 still available. And here is a Campfire Rebellious Spirit, kind of playing seemingly with a little bit of maybe video AI here. So cool experimentation from Ocote. And look who's back. I think this is a new one. Again, you could have started with this too. Inigo Bilbao, the rat is the bait. So I think we have a new Mickey Mouse here. I don't think we saw this one before. You just got to love what's going on here. The kind of misaligned AI Mickeys. Brilliant. Gorgeous. I mean, again, that's like, if I'm MoMA and if I'm putting my Taschen book together, I want to put boom, again, I think, what would I put in order to not get, because you'd be thinking of all the criticism you're going to get. What would you put to silence the critics? I'd put that Mickey Mouse, All to say, let's continue here. Lily Illo with his beautifully painted chair. Beautiful, kind of has a modernist feel to it, just more gorgeousness there. And here is Strange Thing, a strange toy. Gotta love this, almost like an action figure with all the parts of your life, your watch, your phone. Beautiful and brilliant from Strange Thing, a strange toy. And interesting developments here from Strange Thing on the basketball. Look at these basketballs, these almost designer basketballs. So we continue to see the power of AI to really reconceptualize, fashion and just design. Here's Tukes with a couple of works. This is going to be in on verse. So a couple of works here on verse. So interesting series from Tukes here. Isle of Alcina, if I'm not mistaken. Scamra, Tower 1. So here we have a building, another AI building from Scamra. And here is more work from Scamra, really beautiful piece. Gotta love the color. Again, stable diffusion, textual inverters. And here is Danielle King, Les Deux Amis. Kind of almost has the feeling of a Renoir, but probably these AI created figures. Very interesting piece and more contemporary. Demon Ego with a piece playing around with the AI and sneakers here. And interesting kind of play on the background there, almost feeding in some of Demon Ego's other works with the graph paper there. And here's Little Cakes with a super cool work. I think this is just posted on Twitter. Here's another workroom tonight. Very cool. Love this piece. Wild. Here's Sky Goodman. I love the sneaker ad for No One. Gotta love that. And there's the sneakers again. So had put out a few sneaker ads. Here's No Hygiene with a few works here. I really love, again, I think of Harold Cohen when I think of these kind of rough edges here. 3-sphere. So this is made with Midjourney. Here's another wild one here. As you can see, really wild AI art here. Pushing the boundaries, and kind of a nice minimal one here. So you gotta love it. You have to love it. That's all No Hygiene. And then into the physicals we go. This is Joao Salazar with a Boston Dynamics dog here in this new work in progress. Here's Machine with a pretty cool work here. What is this called? Men at Work 2024, acrylic on canvas. So again, using a lot of spray and these interesting kind of cool kind of masking techniques here. I think we saw it's almost like gummy substance to kind of make the mask here. Anyway, just really cool work from Machine. Bondozo Bandido, who I show here almost every episode because has new interesting work, always provocative, a little bit of color in there for good measure. I'm inspired by that artist, by the prolificness, and a genius work by Walk here. I mean, we have to understand, this is just spray, but we completely see the Van Gogh portrait here. Really brilliant work here from Walk, as usual, who, of course, I follow. That is an X-glitch when I open 50,000 tabs. Adam Lister Studio, another Van Gogh pastiche here, this time doing it sunflowers, watercolor, and making a physical out of it from Adam Lister Studio. Here's Zoe Kim and another kind of almost loose kind of spray paint work. This is, I believe, a physical. And here's Mark Belden with some beautiful flowers here on this paper. Gouache on Saint Armand paper, NIF 2024. Here's Bosque Gracias. You see the cyanotype from the workshop. Mackey leaf. So very cool there. 3 Tezos, edition of 10. And this is hilarious. Motto 583. There's something very lo-fi, but just wonderful about these little drawings here. Remember this artist? It's the same artist. And that, my friends, is your show. I have to run. Thank you for joining me. And again, thank you for all the support, for watching this far, the patience with the video. Until next time, take care.